It's happening. The millions of people may see a drastic increase and decrease in monthly benefit checks. Direct deposit of checks or something go out to Social Security recipients may be adjusted from the federal government. And there's some shocking news. A new Congressional Budget Office reports projects that an even more dire outlook for Social Security's future than was previously calculated. Without action to fix this situation, huge benefit cuts for recipients will begin in 2033, and preventing those cuts will require massive tax increases for working Americans beginning immediately. In contrast to the Social Security's trustees' own projections, the Congressional Budget Office estimates that Social Security's combined retirement and disability insurance programs will run out of money again just 2 years earlier. And now that tax increases necessary to fund scheduled benefits are higher than the Social Security's trustees projected. The trustees also assumed only a 4.5% price inflation in 2022 and 2.3% in 2023, while the CBO report accounted for the recent 8.7% cost of increase. According to economists, Social Security's future is not secure. The program is running out of time and money. Recent increase in government spending and debt have crowded out options for reform, and virtually all Americans stand to lose some policy enactment. The Congressional Budget Office report stated that there are 5 main issues right now with Social Security. And the first is that Social Security has a spending problem. Social Security will only be able to pay out 2% tax, and the program promised to take never more than 6% of a worker's paycheck. Today it takes 12%, and even that falls short of the program's ever-rising cost. The Congressional Budget Office projects that Social Security's costs will increase by 40% of the next 75 years, as its revenues remain stable. Protecting Social Security requires reining in on the excessive cost growth. Inaction means benefit cuts of 23%. Current law requires that Social Security benefits come from within the program. So once fund draw runs dry, Social Security will only be able to pay as much as benefits as it receives in taxes. That will mean a roughly $5,000 cut in annual benefits for a typical retiree, and about $4,000 less for the average disability beneficiary. Congressional Budget Office also stated that as of right now, anyone who is 65 or older will not reach today's Social Security retirement age. That's before the age of money runs out. Also, anyone who is currently below the ages of 57 and 107 today, who is still alive and collecting benefits in 2033, will be subject to benefit cuts. It's also predicted that younger workers have the most to lose in benefits. Because if policymakers fail to act and benefit cuts begin in 2033, the Congressional Budget Office estimates that people born in 1970 will experience a 26% reduction, and those born in the 80s and 90s will receive a 27% reduction. It's preventing insolvency to tax increases. It will require 18% tax roll, and now the Congressional Budget Office says that maintaining Social Security scheduled benefits for the next 75 years would require an immediate increase in Social Security payroll tax from 12 to 17%. This would mean $12,000 in Social Security taxes for the median household that has about $71,000 of income. Adding in Medicare and federal and state income taxes will bring the median household's marginal tax rate to 48%. And the number of Americans filing new claims for unemployment benefits increased less than expected last week, pointing to a still tight labor market, while the economy rebounded faster than previously estimated.
Have countries actually succeeded in using this language to defend their laws protecting consumers or workers or the environment?
It's quite infrequent. Less than 5% of the cases where at the WTO where regulations were challenged as illegal trade barriers were upheld under these necessary and legitimacy type tests. So it's very difficult to survive under these particular policy caveats. But as I said, I think it's going to be harder with digital because we have so little regulatory infrastructure and foundation upon which to defend the legitimacy and the necessity of the regulation. So as we're this is a world where we're just beginning to confront the concerns of this. And there are a bunch of laws being considered in Congress that would affect things like digital privacy and monopolistic platform practices that could run afoul of these digital trade rules. I would add on the privacy issues, the language in the USMCA specifically says it must be necessary and proportionate to the risk, which is sort of an even higher threshold to defend future privacy rules. So all of this, look, there's a good reason to consider protecting privacy and protecting the data that is behind privacy for things, as have been said on this panel already, on things like biometrics, on health data, on financial data. There are good reasons to exclude those kinds of personal data from the digital, from the free flow of data and data localization. And there are good reasons to exclude things like critical infrastructure has also been said today. So I think thinking about exceptions to these data provisions is essential going forwards.
Okay, so thank you. It's a very, very powerful point you make. We're barely at 5% success rate on trying to enforce the exceptions, and you're saying it would be even worse under the conditions if we go forward in the digital area here. You know, it is not a surprise that big tech is trying to weaponize digital trade rules. They know that the U.S. Congress is now considering bipartisan legislation to try to rein in big tech. So this is a move to fight back. And let's be blunt, big tech has a lot of friends. I've raised concerns about the revolving door between big tech and the agencies like the Commerce Department that are leading our digital trade negotiations. We can't let big tech hijack current trade negotiations like the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. Voters want Congress to strengthen their digital rights, and our trade agenda must reflect that approach. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate your indulgence for the long questions and answers.
No, we're happy.
For much of the year, Manchin played a huge role for the party's climate, healthcare, and tax agenda. Last month, he lent his approval pivotal support to the Inflation Reduction Act, the centerpiece of Democrats' economic plans, that he authored in secret with Chuck Schumer. It would pass in Republican votes, but unlike that expensive measure, he had no way in Biden's design of the student loan relief program. Manchin's view was not entirely unique to his party. Colorado Senator Michael Bennet, who is up for re-election in November, said in a statement that following Biden's announcement, he wished Biden had further targeted the relief and proposed a way to pay for his plan. Bennet added, while immediate relief to families is important, one-time debt cancellation does not solve the underlying problem. While many Republicans continue to slam the relief, sign the cost it could have to taxpayers and the economy, the leading voices on loan forgiveness like Chuck Schumer have vowed to continue pushing for up to $50,000 in rent relief. Even after that, President Biden's administration said on multiple occasions, this is a one-time blanket loan forgiveness. Schumer thanked Biden for taking action on student debt relief and criticized Republicans for what he called fake outrage on the decision. On the issue, information has been released on the fourth round of stimulus checks from President Biden's administration. Democrats and Republicans are discussing whether all Americans should receive extra financial assistance. Some states and cities have already approved new gas relief checks to help offset the rising prices. Right now, a large number of companies and institutions are finding ways to help Americans cope with inflation by doing out and doling out employee bonuses or by offering more promotions than usual. In July, consumer prices jumped 8.5% compared to a year earlier, down from June when prices pumped 9.1%. And while Americans got some relief last month with inflation slipping lightly, it's still slightly around its
is the source of Mr. Putin's resources that he uses for his international activities, including the war in Ukraine and to try to bring down democratic states. Today, the Atlantic Council is releasing a report. A report titled Why Kleptocrats Still Win, a strategy for the United States and Europe to address weapon